Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I've made this blanket. It has a really nice pattern that looks kind of like a chevron, and I've got a few different swatches and samples of showing you how it looks with different techniques. Now, the beginning of this blanket I did one row of each colour, and to show you that that is how it works. So the beginning and the end are one row of each, but all the way through it's got two rows of each colour. Now you can do this with as many colours as you want. You can do it in a rainbow, but I've chosen this three colour because I had all these colours from the same yarn manufacturer and they were all the same width, and I just thought they'd complement each other. So I've got the walnut, a mustard, and a kind of a beigey cream ivory colour. So this is quite a large blanket. I'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to show you how you can make the blanket and also how you can make the scarf. So this scarf I made with a kind of a, let's see if I can find it because I haven't sewn any of my ends in yet, but as you can see, I don't think I've ended off either. This is kind of a crinkly yarn. It's a bit like homespun but very thin, and the way it works up is it works up as a DK weight. So it's just three colours again, two rows of each, but because it's kind of bobbly and it tends to look a little furry, that's the kind of result that I'm getting, and that is two rows of each colour. And because I had more of this grey than I had of the other two, I did, after every row I did a grey one. I know that this is another grey, but I did a black, then a dark grey, a light grey, then a dark grey, then a black, then a dark grey. So there's more of that in this blanket. So that's how you scarf. So that's how you can play with the colours. That's upside down. There we go. That's the right way up. So it will look different with different techniques. Now I'll get to the blanket and the scarf in a second, but I just wanted to show you this swatch as well. Now this one I made using two rows of the dark kind of teal and then 6 rows of the light teal. And if I'd carried on with that, that's just to show you how it would work up and it kind of makes it pop. So you can do whatever you want really, but I wanted to get a few swatches together just to kind of give you a rough idea. So those are the different techniques that I've used. Now for this, I've both sets of these, whether it's the blanket or the scarf, are with a DK weight yarn and a 4.5mm crochet hook. You need a pair of scissors and maybe a darning needle, although I always work mine in as I go. And one of these days I will show you how to do that, but it's a little confusing, so I'll do a separate video that shows how I do it. So I'm just going to pause the video for a moment while I clear all this out the way and begin the tutorial. Okay, so for this tutorial I'm just going to use a DK weight, a couple of colours, just like the swatch that I showed you earlier. And these are lovely and soft. These come from Hobbycraft that I got some time ago. And I'm going to start with the darker colour. I hope it shows up on the camera. I did have some of this on the go already, making that swatch, but I can't find it anywhere. Okay, so with this pattern, it is made in multiples. Oh, where's my paper? I wrote it down. Multiples of 4 plus 1. So for the blanket, which is a very large lap blanket, it goes over from your chest to your feet. I did 153 altogether. So it's 152 multiples of 4 plus the 1 is 153. For the scarf, I did 33. So that was the multiples 32 plus 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a small swatch. And first off, you need to make a slip knot. And do that however you normally would. Now we don't want really tight chain, but we don't want it baggy either. So a nice, normal, generous chain. I'm going to just do a little bit of a 20 odd stitches just to get a good sample going. So for a chain, we yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we're making a chain. Now I'm going to pause it while I count, because otherwise it can be very annoying. So I'm just going to get my foundation chain together and I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've chained 21 and I can see this is a bit dark, so I'm hoping that you're going to see it. So we're going to go in the 5th chain from the hook. So we're going to count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in there I'm going to do 3 UK trebles or US doubles. So we yarn over and we go in the stitch in the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's 1, and in the same place we're going to do 2 more, exactly the same. And that is our first little fan done. We're going to chain 1, don't really want it baggy though, and then we're going to count 3 and go in our 4th. You can see them there, the light shining through them, and we're going to do 3 in there, in that stitch there as well. And we're going to do that all the way along until we get to the last stitches. I'm kind of not focusing this too much on showing you the stitch in a slow way. I'm going to assume that you've practiced doing these stitches. If not, it is basically a UK treble or a US double crochet. So we're going to chain 1. Again, we're going to skip 3, and then we're going to go, there's 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into the 4th one here and do another fan, cluster of 3. I think I need to pull more yarn out already. Excuse me a second. I didn't do very much, so probably have to do it again in a sec. And there's our 3. And we're going to chain 1 and go in, skip 3, 1, 2, 3 in the 4th there, and we're going to do another fan. So I'm going to carry on doing that all the way along until I get to my last stitches, which I will come back and show you what we do next. But don't forget the chain after your 3. Okay, so here we are, we're all the way along and we've got our last remaining 4 stitches. So in this very last one, we're not going to do 3, we're going to do 2. So I've done my chain and I'm just going to do 2 UK trebles or US double crochets in that last stitch. So now I'm going to turn my work, I'm going to pull out some more yarn, and we're going to do the second row. Now for this row, we're going to work in this bottom foundation chain again. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do a UK treble crochet or US double into the space, and then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go down to this foundation chain, and you've got 3 that you've skipped. You want the center one, so you're going to go in that one there, just going straight over the work. I've gone in 2 loops, I usually go in 1, yarn over and pull it up a little way, and then finish your stitch. So now we've got 2, and we need to go back into this hole that we would normally go into if we were doing a granny stitch. Don't worry about the chain pulling, it will work itself out. So we've done our fan, we're going to chain 1, and now we're going to do exactly the same in the next space along. We're going to do 1 normal UK treble US double crochet, then we're going to do a spiked one going down to this one into the middle stitch of those 3, and we're going to pull it up a bit. I've got to split the yarn, hang on, that's better. We'll pull it up a little way, finish our stitch, then go back to our original space, which you can see just past your stitch there, and complete our fan of 3. do one chain. Now this is what it's looking like. That spike is covering that hole completely up. So we're going to do one normal. Doesn't always like me to do it on camera for some reason. One spike into the middle stitch, so you can see it there, just that one in the center. Pull it up slightly and complete the stitch. At the side of it, back into the hole for the last one. And one chain. Okay, I did put the light on, hoping that makes a difference for you. I chose the yarn that was way too dark, but I wanted to show you how much it would pop by doing that. So we're going to do that one there, last hole, and then we're going to go down into our third of our chains, do our spike, more yarn already. Don't need to pull out too much because we've nearly finished this row. And then our last one next to it, and our one chain, and now in our last stitch, which is the 2 chain, we're going to do 2, just as we did at the end of the previous row. Instead of doing 3 there, we're going to do 2. But instead of finishing it, I'm going to leave 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to cut this yarn and bring in the other colour, which hopefully is going to be much easier to see. And we're going to do our next row. Okay, so to bring in our new colour, I'm just going to hold on to that and grab this end, and holding them at the back to keep the tension, I'm going to finish that stitch in this colour, and with my hook still in because it's holding it tight, I'm just going to give these a tie. Now I know some people don't tie it off, but I always do. Having had one that came adrift once, I always do. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. I will show you in another video how I work these ends in so that I don't have to sew them when I come to it. But for this particular tutorial, it would just make it ultra complicated, and it doesn't need to be. So now this row always looks a little bunchy, but I wouldn't worry. When you put your border on, you won't see it. So we're going to chain 2 and turn our work, and now we're just going to repeat. So in this space, our first, which would be a granny space, we're going to do our 1 normal UK treble or US double crochet. Then we're going to drop down to our center stitch there, which is this one, and we're going to do a spiked stitch in there. We're going to pull it up a little ways, finish our stitch. Then at the side of it, you can see our gap. We're going to do our last one in there and 1 chain, and we're going to repeat that all the way along. It's a very, very easy repeat this. We're going to do it center, pull it up slightly. We don't want to pull it up too much and make it too baggy, and then we'll do our chain at the end, and this is how it's going to look. All the way along. Very, very simple repeat. And nice, effective stitch, but extremely easy. Much easier than it looks, I think. So we're going into that center one at the bottom. Pull it up slightly. Then go into the gap at the side. 1 chain, and then in our last stitch, which is these 2 chain, we're going into the top one, and we're going to do our 2 in there. And we're doing, with this particular swatch, 2 rows, 2 of each colour. So we're going to chain 2 and straight away into this space, and then we're going to drop down into our middle stitch below, bring it up, complete the stitch, and not forgetting the one at the side, and 1 chain. And as you can see, it's now starting to spike. The pattern starts to emerge, And we just repeat that all the way along. I'll stay with you, I won't pause it. It's such a small row that I might as well just stay with you. In each one, let's bring it up slightly, and one in the side of it, one chain, nearly at the end. And as it goes on, you start to see these really nice little, let's pull some yarn out, spikes, and you don't get this gap at the top like it looks at the moment, like these gaps. I'll show you how to end off. So here we are, we're going into the top of our 2 chain, and we're going to do 2. Okay, so that is how it's looking, this row here more so. So now we're going to change colour again, which I shouldn't have finished that. Oops, start again with that stitch. Leave it on the hook. We're going to change colour again. So that's what I would do, but I'm going to show you how I end the row. So if I'm coming to the last row, I would, rather than do 2 rows of that particular colour, I would do 1 normal row, and then the next row I would do this way. So I turn my work, okay, and I do 1 chain, and in here I do 1, instead of pull through 2, I pull through all 3 of them. So I do 1 half treble or half double in the US, and now I go down here into that center, pull up my loop and do a treble, and then at the side of it I'll do another half double, half treble, and I'll chain 1. You can instead, if you want to, just attach it in there like this. Move the chain out, otherwise we'll have too many stitches. In that center one, like this. And as you can see, it closes that gap off nicely. One like that. And then we do the treble, because it is lower. We need a taller stitch, but I'm not pulling it up so much. And then I go into that gap at the side of it. You see the gap? It's just between, because our stitch is smaller, it's not so prominent. And I do my stitch. Pull out some more yarn. And then I'm going to go into the center one. You can do your chain there if you want, but I don't think you need to. And then we just carry on. And that closes off the last round nicely. When we were going over our sets of 3, we only had 1 chain that went over, because we're fanning out. I don't think you need to do any chains. You're fanning out with this stitch here, and then in the side of that you can find your gap, do the half treble, half double crochet. In the center one again we'll do this, and in the end stitch we can do our last half treble. So as you can see, it kind of ends off our row nicely, and then you can put a border around it if you wish to. So that's how we start and how we finish. And in the middle you can do whatever you wish. You can do 2 rows of each colour. Obviously this one now shows 3 rows, because that will if you're doing 2 rows, you just do the second row as an end row, which I didn't do on this swatch obviously. But this is what it looks like if you do a larger section, and this is what it looks like if you just bring in a dominant colour, and then the blanket, which is massive, so it's very difficult to show you. I'll bring it in. But that's what it looks like with 2 rows of each colour, but I chose 3 colours. I mean, obviously you could have done it in 2 colours. You could have done it in rainbow effect, anything. But it's a lovely stitch and great for a warm blanket. There's not that many holes to be seen. Once it's worked up, you can't really see the holes, so it's lovely and warm, and looks kind of cute as well. I like the spike. I think I have it upside down. I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? But that's it anyway. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you find it easy. Sorry about the yarn being a lot darker than I imagined it would look, but hopefully you can see it okay. If not, maybe I'll have to do it all over again. Well, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be informed when new videos pop up. So until the next one, bye for now.